Welcome to NFL Daily, where they got us in the end. I'm Gregg Rosenthal, here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. On YouTube Live for the first time, and obviously in your ears, the morning after. One of the wildest Sunday night cappers to finish a regular season. I'm with my friends Jourdan Rodrigue and Patrick Claybon, who's going to give us a lesson in professionalism. Patrick, you warned me when Lamar Jackson hit that throw to Isaiah Likely on fourth down the field, and Isaiah Likely is skying through the air to make what should have been the play of the game, that we had a lot of ball game left. And unfortunately, we didn't have much left, but it was a give-up play, and it was a missed field goal by Tyler Loop that ends the Ravens season.
And to shout out Gregg Rosenthal, it's not hindsight. It was foresight to say, I don't like that. I don't like centering up the ball with that opportunity with a guy who was 27 yards shy of leading the NFL in rushing, has more explosive runs almost than anybody in the last 40 years in Derrick Henry, to not give him one more shot. But hey, congratulations to the
You know what? I got to say, the Ravens and the Steelers, they give us stuff to talk about. In a world that's topsy-turvy, you don't know what's going to happen, the Ravens-Steelers, they always deliver. And we're going to get to recapping that Ravens and Steelers game. This is a full recap show that we're doing here live on YouTube. And so what we're going to do, we're going to break it up. AFC first because of that Ravens game. Go through all the teams that made the playoffs, and then NFC after that with the great Saturday games as well. But first, let's actually look at the playoff schedule before we get into these games and the matchups.
Ooh.
West of us.
Yeah.
You might be going to this, Jourdan Rodrigue. We'll see. That the traditional time that Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals would always play, the early Saturday afternoon game, and our great friend that this podcast studio is named after, Chris Wesseling, called it West of us, because that's when Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton, and very often the Houston Texans, go to play a little bit of football. And over the years, it's turned into a Texans game. And here we are, Andy Dalton as the backup quarterback for the Panthers against the Rams early. That shows what a good wild card weekend it is that they put the Rams in that game. Packers and Bears are the Saturday night game. That is on Prime Video. We're going to be recapping that game. It's going to be myself and Bill Barnwell Saturday night. On Sunday, we have the 6-seeded Buffalo Bills going to Jacksonville. That's a fun new matchup. 49ers and Eagles Sunday afternoon on Fox, and then Chargers and Patriots. What a spicy matchup. Sunday Night Football on NBC, and then it wraps up with Texans and now, yes, Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night. Aaron Rodgers will play at least one more game in his career. At least one more game with the Steelers, although I think we're going to have more of Aaron Rodgers. This Steelers team, you just can't get rid of them. Let's get to the highlights.
This field goal attempt will decide the AFC North champion. Loop ready. Here's the snap. Here's the hold. Here's the boot by Loop. And that kick is no good. No good. Wide right. No he good. Missed it. Loop missed it. And your Pittsburgh Steelers are AFC North champions.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. What did we just witness here, Rob? Oh, my goodness.
What we witnessed, and that was Rob King and Max Starks on WDVE. Great call. Steelers are the AFC North champs. What we witnessed was maybe the last time Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh ever face off. One of the most memorable Ravens-Steelers matchups that we've seen, because for 3 quarters, it was exactly what you expected. Just ugly AFC North ball. This looked like maybe the 12th and 13th best team in the NFL, just trying to get into that number 13 spot if we're going to put them over the AFC South. And then in the fourth quarter, it was highlight after highlight, 2 50-yard touchdowns by Lamar Jackson. He gets him in position for the game-winning field goal, but it's not enough, and we don't need to focus on Tyler Loop. We can give these offenses in Pittsburgh, Steelers especially, credit for actually getting the touchdowns when they needed it. No timeouts late in the game.
Yeah, it went back and forth in such a satisfying way, right? A way we hoped that this Sunday Night Football game would devolve into the particular brand of chaos that we're used to seeing from these two teams. I can't help but think, and we all kind of voiced this as in the moments after this game ended, after the complete and dead silence that filled the room, was this John Harbaugh game / perhaps future. And it comes down to special teams errors. It's a Ronnie Stanley penalty that sets them back in a big way. It is Lamar and DeAndre Hopkins miscommunicating in the final moments on a possible wide open touchdown, at least a massive gain play. It's all these little things the Ravens have been struggling with all year in terms of these details that come back to haunt them in the end. That is what happens. And to end on special teams
right,
like
and
that.
He's a special teams coach, and they had a kick out of bounds earlier today. And yet, despite those mistakes, you got what you weren't getting a ton from Lamar Jackson this year, which was the oh my God plays. the 50-yard touchdown that he had where he breaks through two just completely unblocked tackles. Let's actually listen to the Lamar Jackson play that kind of kicked off what was just an insane fourth quarter where it's Keanu Benton and Alex Highsmith just getting free to the quarterback before Lamar goes deep.
Steelers with a 4-man front, one deep safety. Lamar to throw, and he's going to step out of a sack. Extends to the left, throwing deep, looking for a man inside the 5. He's got him! Zay Flowers! Touchdown Ravens! And the Ravens regain the lead with 8:42 left to play.
And at that point, you kind of think, okay, maybe that's the big highlight of the game. And it turns out he ends up being the first quarterback since Russell Wilson in 2017 to have two 50-yard touchdowns. But ultimately, the missed kick is kind of what we remember. That was Jerry Sandusky and Rod Woodson. As a Ravens fan, Patrick, where is your ire headed first? Because I know you're not a happy man. I was thinking watching this game how this game was making both fan bases miserable, which is kind of like how this season has been for these two teams.
Well, a lot of stuff is just determined by the universe. Wiggins leaves the game. Of course, the major injury was Kyle Hamilton getting taken out by his teammate, Aloy Gilman, who was able to come back in the game. They both get evaluated for concussions, but Hamilton took the worst of that as they were. There was a moment in the first half where Aaron Rodgers was a little scattershot, was kind of sending players on missions. Unfortunately, it was two Ravens that got sent on a mission against each other on a pass over the middle there. So you can't be too upset with that because it's football and things happen. On the touchdown play to Zay Flowers that we just showed, it was the lasting image that I will have of this season is Daniel Falele slowly turning around and looking at which player is going to sack Lamar Jackson. Fortunately, Lamar gets through there because there were two free rushers on that play, but all of the things that have gone wrong, a lot of them went right. You had Isaiah Likely make the catch in the closing moments. You had Zay Flowers make all those catches, get upfield, no wiggly running today. The smaller things that went wrong went right, and you just haven't seen I don't think Tyler Loops kicked the ball out of bounds all season. But it's just the wacky nature of Acrisure. If Chris Boswell's missing kicks, that's why I wasn't very confident in Loop from 44.
So to back up in the fourth quarter, there wwere two long Zay Flowers touchdowns. The two Ravens touchdown drives were 4 for 71 and 3 for 73. And that's a 64-yarder for Flowers and a 50-yarder, which is just outrageous. But that's the only way the Ravens were getting offense all year. And ultimately, I don't think this stopped the Ravens from going on a long playoff run, but it would have been interesting to see them try. Ultimately, I think
it would have been nice.
Yeah, it would have been nice for you. But the Steelers fans are thinking, okay, now we got a shot. We got the Texans next week. And one thing I don't think should get lost in the missed kick is that Aaron Rodgers and this Steelers offense, and they're going up against banged up secondary for Baltimore, but the front's pretty healthy, and they're not getting a ton of pass rush. And both times in the fourth quarter, the Steelers got the ball, once with 8 minutes 40 seconds to go, needing a touchdown to take the lead, they get a touchdown. Then they get the ball with under 2:30 to go, needing a touchdown, and they get the touchdown. Let's listen to the Calvin Austin catch with 55 seconds left in this game.
Rodgers gets the snap. 4-man rush coming. Rodgers back. Lofting left. Has a man wide open. It's Calvin Austin. from injury, his third touchdown, and with 55 seconds left, the Steelers are up 26-24 with Boswell on to try the extra point.
I mean, it's such a ragtag Steelers receiver group going up against a ragtag Ravens secondary, but ultimately, like Kenny Gainwell, Calvin Austin, Thielen, Scotty Miller, like they did make enough plays in this game and took advantage of a Ravens defense to me that was just not special, and the best players. In this case, Kyle Hamilton gets knocked out, but also Roquan Smith and everyone else that you're counting on to be difference makers weren't in a big spot.
This was a Steelers offense that you knew was going to be so condensed down in shape and form and what it was able to do in the passing game, especially coming into the game because, again, no DK Metcalf, again, no Darnell Washington, a couple of missed opportunities early on that Greg and I are turning to each other in the screening room thinking, yeah, Darnell Washington makes that play, comes down with that in the end zone. And instead, Aaron Rodgers leaned on the running backs, both backs in the passing game, and he leaned on the yak plays. This was going to be the way.
Steelers MVP, Kenny Gainwell, literally named the Steelers MVP this week by the rest of the team.
Absolutely, and this had to be the way, and it was their formula for any type of success they did have early in the season. It was going to have to be the way that they attacked this decimated Ravens defense tonight. 217 of Aaron Rodgers' 294 passing yards were after the catch, and that is almost every. It's insane. First of all,
it's every Steelers game.
Every time they're setting up the opportunity to actually go and score those touchdowns that you were talking about, those yak plays.
Yeah, 64% coming into the game of the Steelers' passing yards were coming after the catch, which is most in the NFL. And I just want to credit Zach Orr for the performance that this defense put up during that stretch run, well, before the actual Gregg Rosenthal TM stretch run, where they went 5 consecutive games, keeping opponents under 20 points with no pass rush to speak of. They were able to do this with absolutely no pass rush. Chidi Awuzie comes back in the game after he leaves the game. I'm wondering if that injury, especially with the injury to Wiggins, where he's not necessarily 100%, that's why he bites on the Calvin Austin double move there. And Collinsworth was talking about a slip. He was toast regardless whether he slipped. He could have just laid down for a nap at that point.
And there were moments in this game, like Cam Hayward had moments. Alex Highsmith had moments. TJ Watt had the deflected interception, which was kind of the moment I thought, oh, this is such
hit him right in the lung.
Right. This is such a Steelers game. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can see that deflected interception by him. But like through 3 quarters of this game, Lamar had 5 completions. And there was 4 passes defense, including that play where they keep knocking the ball up at the line of scrimmage. It's Cam Hayward often, which at a certain point, it's not luck. It's happening over and over. It's a little lucky that it bounces off a Raven and that Ronnie Stanley and then right to TJ Watt. But 4 quarterback hits, 4 passes defense. There's like no offense going into the fourth quarter. And then it all happens. And it's just the story of the Ravens, this team that I picked to go win the Super Bowl and finishes with a losing record. And we can't spend the whole show on just this game, but it does make you wonder what's next for these 2 teams. 2 national insiders going into the day had joint Harbaugh-Tomlin reports, both Schefter and Rappaport. I noticed that Rappaport pointed out Mike Tomlin, maybe he'll take a year off and do TV, which is the exact same thing that Mike Florio said on NBC before the game. That's interesting. Like, I don't know if winning the division would impact that or not. It was both insiders were very careful to say that John Harbaugh will not be fired, and just kept saying, well, it's not a situation where he's going to get fired, but they'll have a conversation after. This is a different sort of conversation.
Do they have a spreadsheet?
Than the MVP conversation, and it just stuck out to me. Leaving, I was just like, does that mean that it's like a mutual parting of ways where they sort of,
it means there's
it that way?
It means there's a conversation.
Yes. Where he has to do.
Hey, man, do you really want to come back? Do you really, 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 really want to come back? That's how I picture it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know the stakes of the conversation. What's at play? What are the possible results from the conversation if one side doesn't like the thing that the other side has to say regarding the conversation? I'd be interested to know. I hope we get quotes.
Well, one of them has – I don't think we're going to get quotes.
Oh.
Well,
then what's the point of the conversation?
One of them has power. Well, it could sometimes be. Doug Peterson had one of these in Philadelphia where it's like you got to do this, this, and this, and if the person's not willing to do it, then he's no longer with the team. Ultimately – I want to see at some point Lamar Jackson with a different head coach. But I feel like that's a show for a different day. It just seems so fitting on a Week 18 Sunday slate where it was like, man, there's not a ton to sink your teeth into that these two teams deliver. And the poetry, unfortunately for Ravens fans out there, that the season starts on Sunday Night Football, Week 1, with an absolute classic that the Ravens just find a way to lose, like so many other Harbaugh big leads over the years. And then here we are. This was different in how it happened, but just another tough loss, and it makes you wonder about this future. Makes you wonder about the future of the Aaron Rodgers Steelers, too. They're going to be hosting a really great defense. We're going to get to that game in just a minute. But what we'll do here, let's go through the AFC seeds now. We know the AFC North, the Ravens are locked in. In the late window, the Broncos took the field against the Chargers' backups, knowing that they needed to win to clinch home field advantage.
Chargers looking for their first down of the quarter. We're under 4 minutes and counting here. The Broncos have a 3-0 lead. Lance in the shotgun. Denver rushes 4. Lance in the pocket, throws a caution route, deflected and intercepted. Intercepted and down the west sideline. This is going to be inside the 15, inside the 10, and that is a touchdown for Jaquan McMillan. 45-yard touchdown return.
Dave Logan's used to this on KOA. I mean, the Broncos defense is making big-time plays and scoring points each and every week. Depending on how you want to measure defensive scoring, I mean, the Broncos defense kind of outscored the offense today. They score that touchdown. They also set up a 2-yard field goal drive. I'm giving those points to the defense. So the Broncos defense scores 10, the Broncos offense scores 9, and the Trey Lance Chargers offense scores 3. Final score 19-3. The Denver Broncos, Patrick, are 14-3, and they are the number 1 seed in the AFC.
And they earned it because this team, what they do is they win rock fights. And yes, in a game where the Chargers are resting a lot of folks, Derwin James is over there iced out, not playing. Khalil Mack over there hanging out, watching the team play as Harbaugh has, and the Chargers have nothing really to do. So it's a game where Trey Lance is going to come in and play. But when you have a trebuchet like this Denver Broncos defense, you can win a rock fight every single time. Nick Bonito making huge plays where if the Broncos fans, if those who are questioning the capacity of this team to compete in the postseason, they do this against everybody. I really don't care that it was the Chargers backups in this one. You feel great about them in their opportunity.
I think it's more of a credit to Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, and the backups. It wasn't all backups, but mostly backups for the Chargers, that they were able to hold the Broncos offense to 9 points. There are things to be concerned about, but these Week 18 games are crazy. It's more of a feather in his cap because he's going to be going on some job interviews in the next couple weeks, perhaps even the next couple days. And all he's got to do is put this game plan right out there because he held the Broncos to only 240 yards total. R.J. Harvey finishes with 28 yards on 15 carries. And the Broncos crowd was actually booing the offense right before that field goal I was talking about. The score was 16-3 when they came off the field, or they were about to kick a field goal to 16-3. And the Broncos crowd was booing the offense before a celebration of what is a truly epic defense, perhaps a championship defense.
Well, probably because they, like myself, have to just correct you, Greg, because I'm not looking at any points by the Broncos offense. I'm looking at 4 Will Lutz field goals.
Well, they went on long drives to get there.
I know. And Bo Nix, you know what? Especially early on, Bo Nix was picking up some key conversions with his legs. They were playing, I think, efficient, no risk it, get the job done football, lean on your special teams and your defense. I can't wait to see what both of these teams do in these next couple of weeks, and hopefully we get at least a extended period of time to watch them, because you can just tell this was the type of game where you can tell nobody's showing too much. Obviously, Chargers rested most of their starters, and they're gathering themselves ready for the big push here, and I just think this is going to be fascinating.
They took care of business. There was no point in the game where they thought they were in real jeopardy. Trey Lance's completion percentage was like well under 50 for most of this game. Garrett Bowles, their left tackle, who might make the All-Pro team this year, made our All-Pro team on NFL Daily.
That's what matters.
Got injured, but came back in the game, was celebrating afterwards, so it seems like he'll be fine. Keenan Allen, I know you were watching this as you were on NFL Game Day Live. You were like, why is everyone out for the Chargers except for Keenan Allen? And the answer was, Patrick?
Keenan Allen had some money to make. Both catches and yards, and he got them.
This was Week 18, like, ridiculousness. Everyone they're trying to keep in bubble wrap. Keenan Allen's one of the oldest players on the team, if not the oldest. They threw the ball to him. You want to know why Trey Lance couldn't get any completions? The whole plan was to get Keenan Allen $1 million, which is a lot in incentives. He needed 6 catches to get $750,000. He only needed 9 yards to get another $250,000, so he made $1 million today. But they had to throw the ball 13 times to him to get him 36 yards. It's just kind of ridiculous. Like, what if he had gotten hurt during all that? Thankfully, he didn't.
Maybe a cool scenario where ownership in certain times is like, you know what? Why don't you just take this? And then we won't worry about it in Week 18 in a meaningless game.
Wouldn't that be better for them? I agree. The Chargers get a little bit of an advantage on the Patriots, I think, in that, like, I think it's great for them that so many guys, especially Justin Herbert, got to rest this week. So I don't want to lose sight of what an accomplishment it is for this Broncos team. Mm-hmm. Jourdan, you had them in the offseason as a real deal Super Bowl contender. You were absolutely right. However they got to this.
What was that?
You were absolutely right.
It feels so good.
I mean, they still got they are absolutely a contender, and they will, I would assume be favored over, who knows. This could be a rematch. I do wonder if Harbaugh was out there with his, defense playing that well and wondering, like, wow, if we had tried to win this game, we could have set up, like, another rematch with the Broncos. Maybe we know this team, but maybe they'll get him in a couple weeks.
He's just doing his buddy Jesse Minter a solid, He's just doing all of his buddies and the longtime friends in the league,
Fair point. And if you're curious why the Broncos are the 1 seed and the Patriots are the 2 seed, they both finished 14-3. It's because of common opponents. And you know what common opponent the Patriots lost to? The Las Vegas Raiders and Geno freaking Smith in Week 1. That's the difference between Denver getting home field and not. So the Patriots, they were playing at the same time, but they weren't worried about it. They were going to do everything they could to get that 2 seed or, get a little help, which we now know they did not. Let's go to Foxborough.
So this is 3rd and 18 from the 45. 4-man rush. Allen drops the throw. Checks it down. Almost picked off. It is intercepted. The Jags running it back. Here's Antonio Johnson. 40, 35, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. Antonio Johnson with a pick 6. The Jags have extended the lead. How good is that?
That's better than a Patriots game. It's a Jaguars win. More interesting on Sunday afternoon was this AFC South, the early games. And we thought maybe the Titans could scare Jacksonville. They went into the day looking for the AFC South crown to set up the pressure on Denver and New England later in the day. Ultimately, they walked 41-7. Jaguars win over the Titans. That was Frank Frangie and Jeff Logman on WJXL. The Jacksonville Jaguars are your AFC South champions.
Yeah, they are. Gregg Rosenthal and myself, we picked them as our messy fun team. Now they're just fun. Also, Greg, it's okay. Patrick and I have been tracking this all season. You just have Foxborough on the brain. You just have your New England Patriots on the brain, so it's totally fine. But Cam Ward left this game in the first quarter and was ruled out by halftime with a shoulder injury. He'd scored a touchdown early, and the Titans actually had a 7-0 lead. Jeffrey Simmons was giving the entire Jaguars offense the business, but that was only going to last so long, especially with Tennessee playing Brandon Allen, former Jacksonville Jaguar, at quarterback. So including that pick 6 on Allen that you heard by Antonio Johnson, this game was 31-7 at halftime, and Trevor Lawrence became Jacksonville's new franchise touchdown leader. How about that?
Already?
Yeah, past Blake Bortles. Someone had to,
I guess Mark Brunell didn't play that many years for Jacksonville and the touchdown inflation over the years. But he also went over 4,000 yards. Trevor Lawrence could be on an MVP ballot, maybe. I don't think he should be, but a writer I really respect and trust, John Shipley, who writes about the Jaguars, said he should get some MVP votes, and you get 5 votes. It's not that crazy.
No, it's not crazy at all.
I think you got to count the first half of the season, and he wasn't playing that well, I don't think, for half the season. That's important. But he's on quarterback island, which is better than any MVP vote. And I would say if you were just going MVP second half of the season, remember how we did the first half? It really might be Trevor Lawrence. And so it's just wild. They take care of business in this game, so it's nothing like overly surprising. I'm a little concerned that their running game still didn't look good, even against the Tennessee Titans. But this has turned into a dangerous team, and basically like every team in the AFC, I think they have a legitimate chance to make the Super Bowl. But I feel like you're looking at that Jags-Bills game, and I don't want to spoil our preview show, but I feel like Patrick's going to be circling the Jaguars.
Yeah, I think the Jags have a good pass rush. They have, between Hines Allen and Travon Walker, the capacity and the athleticism, because you need guys on the edge that can bother Josh, where he just doesn't disregard them and go on his leisurely journeys to the sideline before he whips the ball down the field 50 yards. And also, I think they can cover. I think they're a very good team. They scored 41 unanswered points. I wish Cam Ward was able to finish this game. I wish the Jags, maybe, especially their key players, had played a little bit less in the second half, but Coach Cohen does as Coach Cohen does.
They are a very complete team in every phase, and we've seen the run game work. So I actually believe that at some point this thing pops loose again, and Bashal
It's been a minute. I mean, it's
going.
like once every 4 weeks or so.
Well,
it's a concern.
They're due. They're right on time for the playoffs. No, this is the thing. Their pass game is so diverse, and we've talked about this. It's so layered with Jacoby Myers getting into the building and becoming the stabilizing force, basically right up the seam of that offense. When he runs the most in breakers of anyone in the offense, Trevor Lawrence is the most productive quarterback in the NFL on those in breakers, specifically to Jacoby Myers, and every other piece around that spine of the offense falls into place in these very specific layers. That's exactly how Liam Cohen wants to run this system. And you see it with how every other player basically knows their role and is able to execute that very effectively. And I think a lot of this, too, helps because of the defense and the way that their defense has been playing all year. It is not lost on me that we're going to get a Josh Allen versus Josh Hines Allen game this week.
Take the name back.
We've been waiting for it. We've been waiting for it, and we've been wanting it. And they also have the edge, in my opinion, on a lot of teams in special teams. It's not just Parker Washington's dynamism in the return game. It's also Cam Little.
Right.
A find who hits a 67-yard field goal today. I have to listen to it. I just have to.
I love that he's getting all these.
There's the hold. There's the kick. The 67-yard field goal is good! From 67 yards to end the half. How good is that? Jacksonville, 31. Tennessee, 7. Cam has just set the franchise record for most points scored in a season with 135. Are you kidding me?
What a weapon that Cam Little is.
Cam Little says, "Get away from me. I've got a celebration plan. I'm going to execute that celebration. I don't want you jumping all over me and ruining it." Just the vibes are immaculate. And for these franchises that haven't won as much lately, like the Jaguars, like a division championship means a lot. You saw the players showing up to the game on defense with these Anthony Campanile T-shirts, which I really appreciated. And you mentioned the defense. They are going into this week, and it's going to improve. They're 7th in DVOA on defense and 15th on offense. So for the course of the season, the defense has actually been more consistent, even better than this passing game and this offense, which has been peaking lately. But yes, the vibe's amazing. I think Trevor Lawrence's development has been one of the big stories. And before we get out of here, we have to enjoy the, I guess, culmination of what's kind of been a meme in Jacksonville this week. I don't know if you guys were on this Trevor Lawrence grills watch that's been going on. But after the game, Jerry and Jones gifted Trevor Lawrence some grills.
I got something to say, Trevor, because it's fun. We appreciate you so much for everything you do. I just want you to know all of Jacksonville behind you. We know it's a meme that's kind of going viral, so we got your own video.
Yes, Trev getting it done. And I guess it basically an image was going around, an AI created image of him with a grill, which makes me like this less. But back in our day,
the Jaguars are anti-AI. Look at that; they did it for real.
Yeah.
Yes, it's in real life. We had
this
Photoshop.
Is our team.
I
this
mean,
is
that's
our
the
team.
original one.
And also a very brisk application of the grill by Trevor Lawrence. I don't think that's the first time that. famously Georgia resident and native.
Love that.
Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, and he knew how to mean mug for the camera. He made it all happen. I love it. It's a really fun matchup that we'll be talking all week, Jaguars and Bills. And, yeah, you mentioned the Cam Ward injury. It was reported by Jeff Howe of The Athletic that it was a grade 3 AC joint sprain. We'll see, but that's the highest grade, and that means that's a multi-month injury. We'll see if he needs surgery or not, but a really disappointing way for, I think, a promising rookie season to end. We'll see what they do with their coaching moves.
That after he comes out, that Brandon Allen snap was the first snap to a quarterback that wasn't Cam Ward all season long.
Yeah, that's it's the 17th week comes back to bite him. Mike McCoy, the interim head coach, was getting some questions on the play call because it was a called design run where he dives into the end zone. I think he had an option to hand it off on the play, but I think ultimately it's just bad luck. You can't kill him for calling a football play or playing football. But as you say, the injury rate in this league is 100%. So with the Jaguars winning, the Texans were scoreboard watching. The game's happening at the same time. The Texans are hoping, can we sneak in? It gets out of hand with the Jaguars pretty early, but does that stop Davis Mills and C.J. Stroud? It doesn't stop them.
5 seconds to go. First down, Colts at their 25. Leonard over the middle. He goes to Josh Downs. Takes it across the 30. Laterals back to Pittman. Pittman throws it back to Leonard. And Leonard is going to be sacked. He gets rid of the ball. Togiai picks it up. Togiai across the 5. Togiai into the end zone. Touchdown, Tommy Togiai to end the game. And the Texans win their 12th. What a way to finish the season.
There was no going down for Tommy Togiai. Tommy Togiai was going to house that baby, and that's exactly what he did.
You give me a Tommy Togiai, Mark Vandermeer call to end the season? Santa's come late. 38-30. Texans win over the Colts. Yes, that was, as it's lovingly called, a pitchy woo-woo play there by the Colts, down 2 points at the end after my guy, Davis Mills, did something that he did for a third time this season, Patrick. He was given the ball with a chance to go on a game-winning drive. And you know what he did?
He does what Davis Mills does.
He went on a game-winning drive and let Kaimi Fairbairn do the rest.
Yeah. NFL Daily kicking star, Kaimi Fairbairn. Don't need to highlight, any other particular kicker. Kaimi Fairbairn.
What do we make of this game where C.J. Stroud plays the first half and they're watching the scoreboard, but the game is close. Riley Leonard's playing well. Derek Stingley's getting cooked by Alec Pierce. A lot's going on. It was actually just a good football game. And then the Texans kind of call off the dogs and take a lot of the starters out in the second half, but it still ends up going back and forth.
I think, and again, perhaps I'm biased and I don't necessarily like the Dave Canales of it all, take it off the scoreboard, not pay attention.
Right.
We're doing all this other stuff. To the antithesis of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were actually in that game, blowing out the Tennessee Titans. Coach looks up and sees that it's 35-7, I believe, at that point, and says, all right, there's no need for us to have our starting quarterback in the game. A lot of other guys going to the sideline, but they get everything they want. Jaden Higgins, his ascension has continued, where Nico Collins was chilling on the sideline in street clothes for this game. He had a nice touchdown. They were able to get Lassiter some rest. He had a knee and ankle injury that leads to that first big Alec Pierce play because it's Tremont Smith over there. And as you said, Sting's having trouble covering Alec Pierce. Breaking news, everybody's having trouble covering Alec Pierce, who went off today. And I think the major takeaway, other than, Davis Mills performing excellently in Davis Mills' role, is the benefit of hindsight to look back and say,
I see that little backhanded compliment there.
Backhanded compliment.
Davis Mills' role.
On a day where we were discussing, Brandon Allen's rankings among the QB3s.
Some people were pretty excited about that. Not me, not you, but some people.
Some people.
No.
But I do think, right, it's an opportunity to look back, not with hindsight because it was foresight for a lot of people. Riley Leonard should have started more than this last game for the Indianapolis Colts. In terms of he not only hit those deep shots, which was something the offense really didn't have an option for Phillip Rivers, he had a keeper on the end line where he breaks a tackle and gets into the end zone Riley Leonard had them in this game to a great extent where we were questioning if it was fair for him to make his first start against this Houston Texans defense. He looked pretty good today.
No, I'm not going to second guess that they did the Phillip Rivers thing to begin with. I think that's fair to do considering how good Leonard looked
and
in
Leonard
this game.
did get hurt previously before that.
Yeah, knee, I think the knee was a bigger deal than they let on. I remember that was my game when we covered that, and it was the way that Riley Leonard wants to play, which he showed today, and is really talented in my opinion, especially with the ability to run. It was pretty clear that was going to be an issue, and they were looking at him and Britt Rippon.
1 week. I do think, though, that they should have just had Riley Leonard ready to go last week because they knew there was a chance that they were going to get eliminated. Because I actually think Riley Leonard played well enough to be in the conversation to be their week 1 starter next year, to just be in the mix, because Daniel Jones isn't going to be ready for the start of next season. That's assuming he's even on the roster, which I'm not necessarily assuming. We have learned since this game ended that Chris Ballard, their general manager, and Shane Steichen, their head coach, will be back. It was essentially announced by the team and sent out through all the insiders that both of them are going to be back. So Riley Leonard's going to be in this same offense, and it would have been really valuable to get more data on him because he looked good enough. Patrick, you watched this game closer. Like, he looked good enough in this game running, passing, decision-making to think, like, okay, maybe we get, like, an okay, like, veteran that could be the week 1 starter, but actually there's a good chance it's Riley Leonard until Daniel Jones is back. And you'd feel a lot better making that evaluation if you had, let's say, 3 games to go through and see rather than just like this one incredible performance.
And then you can figure out what we can attribute the bad plays to. Mm-hmm. Is that just a rookie having things go the other way? Because there was a play in this game where Leonard is trying to throw a jump pass and he check swings on it, but the problem is he threw the ball backwards anyway. The Texans were able to recover within the 5-yard line, and C.J. Stroud has a rushing touchdown right after that to try to figure out, well, are these things the rookie is just doing because he's a rookie? Is this a long-term trend? We don't know that because we got an extra opportunity to watch Phillip Rivers play football.
It was fun, though, and who knows? It was reported by Ian Rappaport that multiple teams are potentially interested in Phillip Rivers as a head coach. Now,
potentially interested?
The Colts are not one of those teams because they're keeping Shane Steichen. I don't know that they want to talk to Phillip Rivers. That was a surprising report, to say the least. Your boy Alec Pierce, by the way, who's going to be very close to the top of the top 101 free agency list when it comes out, topped 1,000 yards on the season by going over 100 today. So he was their number 1 receiver, gets over 1,000 yards. He ended up averaging 21.3 yards per catch. In the year of our Lord, 2025/6, I guess now. That was more than 3.5 yards more than anyone else in the league, and it's on pretty good volume. There's really no one else doing it quite like our guy Alec Pierce, or Davis Mills for that matter, going 3 for 9 but getting his 3rd game-winning drive.
Had to get
I'm
Davis
joking.
Mills
I'm joking.
a little more pop in there.
I'm saying no one's doing it like him, where he's going
sure.
3 for 9 but getting another game-winning drive.
And we thought, as the volume would go up and Alec Pierce would become more of a part of the offense, the short offense, he's going to lose that opportunity. No, still gets buckets deep.
And I don't take much out of the Texans defense having some issues. We'll talk about them during this week. What do we think? And I think we'll get into the conversation about the Colts and deciding to keep Steichen and Ballard a little deeper on Monday's show. They're going to have a press conference, and we'll cover that. But just quick reactions off of them keeping Steichen and Ballard.
I'm not surprised. As you know, I spent some time out there earlier this month for a profile on Carly Ursay-Gordon, the owner who made ultimately the decision along with her 2 sisters who co-own the team along with her. I look at the landscape of this coaching cycle, and it's a lot of retread coaches, and it is a lot of really inexperienced coordinators who would be first-time coaches. I think Shane Steichen showed that he has a lot of potential when they do get the quarterback right. I think that Chris Ballard, because of what they've built, not only the incredibly open dialogue that they have with each other and with Shane Steichen, but also you don't want a coach coming in with you don't want to keep a coach and then bring in a new GM or vice versa. You don't want an overhang situation, and you also have really, despite their lack of playoff wins, one of the deeper and more respected scouting and executive departments. That all goes if Chris Ballard goes as well. And I don't know that there's a GM candidate out there right now capable of building that as quickly as they want to win with this roster and potentially probably with Daniel Jones.
Got to be able to acquire some more talent on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Get that sorted out. Have Coach Lou with a chance to get some guys.
Well, with all these losses, their draft pick gets high. Oh, wait, no.
Too soon.
Here's the thing. Carly Gordon-Ursay approved that Sauce Gardner trade, and I didn't think it was an irrational big swing for the fences at the time. This was the ultimate win-now type of team because they're an aging roster. A lot of contracts are coming up this offseason, especially next offseason. So I think continuity does make sense, especially because you have a real deal offensive coach in Steichen, and do you really want to start over as a GM? Do you want to hire from within? None of that really ended up making up sense. So they're going to be another win-now team next year, but they go for continuity, and they get the win. So we talk Texans, we talk Colts. Now let's get to those Patriots who were playing in the late window, knowing they needed to win because Jacksonville won earlier in the day to at least get that 2 seed.
Kyle Williams, the rookie receiver left. High formation. 1st and 10 give. Stevenson runs through the middle across the 25-20. 15-10 at the 5. Spun around. Taken into the end zone. Still on his feet for the Patriots touchdown.
Unbelievable by Rodrigue here in these last 3 weeks. You know, the way this thing shakes out, if you do secure the number 2 seed, you got to give him a lot of credit here.
That's a good call by Scott Zolak. And Bob Sochi on WBZ.
They're all good calls.
I shouldn't sound so surprised. Ramondre's return has been a thing. What a weird up and down career he has had for a 5th-year running back. Like, the highs have been exceptionally high. He got a monster contract. At times he looks like a top 10 running back in the league. The lows have been extremely low. Like, usually running backs don't get into such big slumps, but he is on a heater right now. He is breaking a tackle almost every touch. He touched the ball 9 times on Sunday, and then he got 153 yards and 3 touchdowns. Mike Vrabel didn't get the memo that you were supposed to be stat padding for Drake May's MVP candidacy because he just didn't need to. They just ran the ball down the Dolphins' throats all day long. 38-10 was the final score. They go for over 450 yards. The starters stayed in more or less throughout. Josh Dobbs came in very late in this game, and they made sure they ensured the 2 seed. And I think the running game is going to be really big for them in the playoffs. And Travion Henderson also looked great in this game. And I think it's not a small thing that Will Campbell was back on the left side. Road grading down the field.
There it is.
Healed by Bakemas.
Yes.
Will Campbell has earned the smile on Gregg Rosenthal's face. He did it. Mission accomplished for the Patriots' top 10 pick. And to see Ramondre be the explosive part of the run game was nice because I don't think this was all the Fins kind of being in Cancun on 3 mode.
I don't know. It might have been
that opening
early.
That opening drive.
The first touchdown, yes, that was egregious.
The first drive was 3 rushes and 65 yards, and one of those rushes was like a 4-yard touchdown. So it was like, it was kind of ridiculous. They were just taking turns. Through their first 2 drives, they were averaging 13 yards per play, and I was like, oh, that must have fallen off big when you end up having 60 to 70 snaps. Nope. I mean, they still were over 8 yards per play on this game. And even though Drake May didn't light up like the box score, it actually was kind of a typical Drake May game. So if he does win MVP, he'll have done it in a unique way. He only throws the ball 18 times in this game, but he has a 30-yarder, a 32-yarder, another 30-yarder, 191 yards, and he runs the ball for 40 yards in this game.
That's why the comp for Drake May is not Josh Allen. The comp for Drake May is Lamar Jackson.
I agree. I agree.
As
a runner, it's not, but I agree.
The way that he targets guys down the field and the way that the offense, where there were big stretches of this game where like, well, the Dolphins are still in this. Hold on now, Quinn Ewers. And then all of a sudden the Patriots have 40 points because – that's what they do. They score points in bunches. They get buckets, and it's good It's good football to watch.
Yeah, he had 4 different plays of at least 20-yard. Efton Chisholm goes for a 35-yarder, like Stephon Diggs goes down the field. And it kind of did feel like 1-2-3 Cancun for the Dolphins defense. On the other side, Quinn Ewers moved the ball very well for about 2.5 quarters. It sort of fell off a cliff after that. He looked good, but they had no real running game. Milton Williams was also back on the field, which is a big deal for the Patriots.
Huge deal for the Patriots because as explosive as their offense can be, their defense has really struggled. So having him back ahead of this playoff run that they make is going to be huge, and it does not escape me how tough of a matchup this game is coming up. I know we'll preview it on the show, but going up against Jesse Minter's defense with the Los Angeles Chargers that do not allow explosive passing plays. They've allowed, I think, 3 pass plays of 30-plus air yards this entire season, touchdowns, this entire season. They do not allow explosives. So the Patriots are going to have to lean on this reemerged run game. They're going to have to lean on biting away underneath and win in different ways, and that's what I think a real playoff team is going to be.
Really fun matchup where I think both the Patriots and the Chargers fans and the teams could be looking at the other and thinking, oh, that's the matchup I want.
Yeah.
Which is a weird place
almost
to be.
Never happens.
But almost the entire AFC to me is just it's just like some dice in a jar. It doesn't really. You have no idea. I'm trying to think of that game Boggle or whatever. I'm mixing metaphors here.
Boggle.
You just don't know what's gonna.
Yahtzee.
You don't know what's gonna pop up. Like there is no AFC result literally except for the Steelers making the Super Bowl that would surprise me. Basically, the Steelers winning more than one game. Nothing else would remotely surprise me. But the Patriots get it done, and they've been very good down the stretch at just blowing bad teams out. One of the league leaders in point differential. So there's a lot of blowouts in the AFC. We're going to get to these big NFC games in a minute. But the Bills did say goodbye to Ralph Wilson Stadium on Sunday. That's what we call it, the Ralph. And they did it in style, even if Josh Allen only took 1 snap.
I formation here from the Bills. 4th and goal from the 2. And now Gilliam motions to the right wing. Motion for the tight end Latu. Trubisky back to pass. Looking right. Now back to the left. Back to the middle. And Gabe Davis just mossed the defender for a 2-yard touchdown reception. He reached over him, pulled the ball back, and Gabe Davis is having his biggest night since he put the Bills uniform back on this season.
What are you laughing at?
The route from Gabe Davis.
His little fists, just like he was so that was great.
Let Gabe Davis have his moment.
It was great, and Mitch Trubisky, a part of the Ralph's legacy forever.
He really is. Because, it's not a joke. Because this game will live forever, and it's great what this Bills team did in a 35-8 win. They got out to a 35-0 lead against the Jets, and I know the Jets are one of the most pathetic teams I've ever seen down the stretch. They're literally the first team in the Super Bowl era to lose 5 straight games by at least 21 points. Just by scoring, which is how we measure things in this sport, they are the worst team in the final 5 weeks of a season ever. But that said, the Bills benched everyone. Their offensive line wasn't playing. They weren't even active for this game. Josh Allen played 1 snap. James Cook had a couple carries to start the game, then they benched him. No one was really playing in this game, and they put up 470 yards, and it was an absolute celebration for the last quarter of this game. And I just think that was cool. After the game, they show Tre'Davious White looking up at the big board, and they're playing Iris.
Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls.
By the Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, I welled up on that one.
And everyone in the crowd is singing, and they're showing so many different fans crying. And it just wouldn't have hit the same way if they had lost that game. So it turned out into a 3-hour party. So I thank Mitch Trubisky for his service.
Yeah, 100%. His contribution to the effort does not go unnoticed or unvalued by the fine folks at NFL Daily. What a cool... See, to me, Week 18, I think, has been stuff and nonsense for a lot of people, and some of these games feel so pointless at times. But that feeling and watching the fans get their moment, fans who have shoveled snow out of those seats, fans who have
Literally for this game, which was very fitting. They had the last call. I get texts from the Bills, because I'm just on the notifications list or whatever. It's like $20 an hour. Anyone want to come over to Highmark Stadium and start shoveling? I'm like,
absolutely.
It's gonna be too far.
Fans who, and our producer Eric is one of them, we're lucky to catch a game that has been at a place that has been such a part of their journey through their life and their partners' lives and their kids' lives and heartbreak in that stadium and joy in that stadium, and watching them discover this superhuman quarterback and what he could do in that stadium. And I love that they sent the Ralph out this way. I love that Week 18, for as nonsensical as it can feel at times, was just all feeling and such a joyride for those fans, with a little bittersweetness tinged at the end too.
And a great decision to have the throwback red helmets on,
Yes.
where everybody's decked out, and you see all kinds of situations where you're critical of wearing old and weird jerseys, where you could rock that J.P. Lossman Bills jersey and
No,
look
you
great
can't.
in the Ralph today.
No, you can't.
It would've
You're
been great.
never allowed to rock the J.P. Lossman jersey. If you want to do E.J. Manuel, who carried himself well, and there were some moments, you can do it. J.P. Lossman, you're not allowed. Never.
JP, I'm sorry if you're listening to this. I did not
He's
know
definitely
Greg
not listening.
was going to take a tomahawk missile to you.
We're both Tulane grads. We have that in common. There was a moment where they were doing Mr. Brightside. And your friend, Catherine Fitzgerald, who covers the team, she noted a very theatrical moment where Spencer Brown, the tackle, had his cape ripped off right at the moment where they sing "He Takes Off Her Dress Now," and it was like choreographed with all the players. It was just a thing. And Ray Davis, shout out to Ray Davis, 151 yards on the ground. If you watch our great show, Game Day View, that was my prop for the week. That he goes over, I think 29 yards. I mean, that's easy.
First
drive, he had it nailed. There's not much left to say in this game because I want to save some time for all these great NFC games. Bills Jaguars is gonna be awesome, and I think ultimately the Bills have to feel really good about the fact that they got to rest Josh Allen and so many key players in this game, and that Dalton Kincaid, who was one of the real starters, played well in this game and is healthy entering the playoffs because he's been so important for them. Okay, that's the AFC. We've got the matchups all set. We hear, by the way, that Aaron Glenn is safe, according to the insiders. That's one where I just keep hearing it, and I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if that was a surprise one, but we keep hearing that he's safe, and so we'll have to assume until proven otherwise that is true. One game that featured no coaches on the hot seat. In fact, two coaches that I think were going against each other potentially for the Coach of the Year award. There are a lot of great candidates, but to me, going into Week 18, the best two candidates were Mike Macdonald and Kyle Shanahan. Let's go back to the Saturday game and set up how the entire NFC slate was broken down, first with that battle for the number 1 seed.
Charbonnet in the backfield on 3rd down and 2. Darnold under center. Long count, turns, hands to Sharp. Finds some running room, bounces it outside left. Here he comes, 20, 15, cuts back inside 10, 5, touchdown, Seahawks! Zach Charbonnet from 27 out, his 12th rushing touchdown of the season.
Fitting call. It was the run game. When the Seahawks can run the ball, they look like the best team in football. I mean, they look like the best team in football any old time, but when they run the ball, they just look especially unstoppable. The Seahawks win 13-3 in a score that doesn't flatter their offense. I think they were a little more effective than the score would indicate. That was Steve Rabel, by the way. A little help from Dave Wyman on KIRO. This was a game where the Seahawks defense made sure, Jordan, that they got the 1 seed. They are really as great as the Texans have been in the AFC. The Seahawks have been that good, maybe even better in the NFC, and this was their best performance.
This defense, which is an absolute marvel to watch, has this incredible ability because of the way that they play in their sub packages. A larger nickel, a larger dime personnel, a fast personnel in those perceived sub packages. They stay in them the entire time, and they neutralize any sort of alternative heavier personnel that you want to use on them, whether it is a fullback in Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle in the tight end, or if you want to use 2 tight ends, or anything that you throw at this Seattle group. Not only do they completely neutralize any of the little cutesy, like trickeration scheme things that you want to do, but they just keep coming after you. It's like Michael Myers in one of these horror movies where you could literally run a bus into it and it will still keep coming after you. You could, hey, by the way, finally, if you're the 49ers, get inside the Seattle 30-yard line for the first time all game, deep into the contest, and yet here comes the Seattle defense because Brock Purdy made his best throw of the game to Juwan Jennings to get to the Seahawks 9-yard line, and a play later, Christian McCaffrey bobbles a pass, it gets tipped, it's intercepted. If you go down even one score to this Seattle team, that is their A-plus plan to keep you smothered, whether it's their own ball control on offense or their defense, and you are eliminated from the game before you can even get started.
They're one of the best defenses I think we've seen in a while.
I almost hit Patrick there.
Like
Sorry.
Okay.
I got excited.
Their physicality in this game, it's not like the 49ers offense didn't want it or anything, but they just weren't in a good position. Like they kept catching the ball and then they would be absolutely leveled. Like they could have 2 of the like all-pro team defensive tackles. DeMarcus Lawrence could be in that mix. And then the secondary is outrageous. That Reek Woolen, who's just playing lights out down the stretch, is their 6th defensive back, and as you mentioned, not leaving the field. What really stuck with me when I thought about this, like big picture, Patrick, was like this is literally the reason why Mike McDonald was hired. It's why he's my coach of the year, is that it's so clearly his vision of how to play defense. He was supposed to be the Shanahan-McVay stopper, and I know you can say, oh, well, they like racked up all these yards on McDonald last time. They had situational big plays, but they also held them to under 250 yards the other time they played the Rams. Like he came with a job to do, and like he did it. Holding this 49ers team to 3 points is just masterful. Only 9 first downs. CMC could not get it going on the ground. There was really like nowhere that they could turn.
Yeah, and even when CMC did get free, things went the other way, where that was not necessarily the game hinged on that play, but the margins were so slim for the 49ers, and they were coming into the game. Before I knew Trent Williams wasn't going to play, I thought this was going to have to be a Kyle Shanahan masterpiece. He was going to have to be calling plays from the astral plane to do what they needed to do in this one, where you mentioned the depth for the Seahawks and the talent for the Seahawks, where Leonard Williams only had to play 30 snaps. DeMarcus Lawrence only had to play 27 snaps.
Wow.
They have this capacity to be smothering and get guys in where it's Jaron Reed on like his 4th pass rush of the game, getting a whole bunch of pressure on Brock Purdy, where the options were really limited for Brock, and they weren't necessarily getting the separation that they were used to during their streak of winning the game, scoring all those points.
And because it was complimentary football, because the run game was great in this game. It wasn't like as consistent success rate wise, but still very successful. Overall, they run for 180 yards. There was a key play where Kenneth Walker gets 18 yards on 3rd and 17. That to me just felt like an absolute backbreaker. And it's only 10-3 at that portion of the game. But man, Walker runs with such suddenness, and Charbonnet gets 74 yards in this game too and breaks a lot of tackles and gets that touchdown. It's a great 1-2 punch, and it was without Charles Cross, who signed a big contract, by the way, on Sunday, and they expect him back for the playoffs. It's not a consistent offensive line, but I thought this was a good enough offensive performance, and they managed the game well against, a lackluster 49ers defense.
Yeah, the point I made on social media was it's hard to find a weakness in Seattle when they run the ball like this. That's a key phrase there, because running the ball like that, not only you could play total ball control and set up your defense to also do so against an offense and have that sort of handshake smothering principle that they do, but also you are hiding and you're mitigating pressure that could otherwise rattle your quarterback. And it's just a fact. It has for Sam Darnold.
Even in the first half of this game, I do not think he played a good first half of this game.
But the key is he doesn't have to play this, crazy quarterback island worthy game, right? Like he can run the offense in a way that is fantastic because they lean on him. They look to him to lead. You hear every player talking about it in the locker room post game, and I think it's a real credit where you don't have a quarterback who all the time feels like he has to play hero ball. He's playing the type of football that this team needs him to play right now. When the run game is working the way that it is such a complete team. They don't need to put up, 25 points, 30 points a game, because their defense is it's a team built around the defense and their run game. This is a Kubiak, Mike McDonald team. It's built around the run game and the defense.
You know how I know I'm a small person, like literally and figuratively? Is because after the game, it really struck me as funny when they're like, it's like the defense gave up, in my mind, like the defense gave up 3 points. They ran for 180 yards. And the big takeaway from the game was like, Sam Darnold did it. What a story. Sam Darnold. Like
on this show.
He managed to do it.
On this Gregg
with the
Rosenthal
defense that allowed 9 first downs against the best offense in the league.
QB win, Greg.
With 180 yards. But he played the right brand of football in the second half, where he made some plays out of structure and he ran with his legs. I thought he played a good game in the second half. And like I said, I thought the offense overall was kind of underrated in this game.
Gray Zabel's best game.
Yeah, they possessed the ball for most of the game, and he obviously is a big part of that.
And to start the highlight with the Charbonnet rushing touchdown, that's just a regular – if they want to run a run play and it's just a regular ISO play, it's Zach Charbonnet. When they need something weird to happen, it's Kenneth Walker. And that third down conversion, not fluky, at 3rd and long, Kenneth Walker has the most yards in the entire NFL on 3rd and long.
Wow.
On 3rd and 7 or more, he averages 10.9 yards per carry. He gets buckets.
That's incredible.
He's such a unique talent. He's a really interesting free agent coming up, because I don't know if Seattle is going to pay him the top dollar when they have Charbonnet there. Maybe they think they can replace him. He's someone I would like to sign if I was running a team. Let's look at the picture after the game. Here's where Darnold really shines, because I do believe that his teammates really love him. I just thought this was a great selfie. I'm not great at taking selfies, by Jalen Milroe, of just the 3 different types of quarterbacks that you can have: Jalen Milroe, Sam Darnold, and Drew Lock. And they were smoking cigars in that locker room, and everyone's having a good time. Sam Darnold, he's a leader of men.
He is.
He's now the only quarterback who's won like 27 games in 2 years for 2 different teams.
If not for a bad night in Minnesota, been back-to-back one
and
seats for Sam Darnold.
Listen, you're going to have to go through not just this Seattle defense, which again, God forbid you even go down a field goal to these guys, right? Because any neutral or advantage by points keeps them in their A-plus defensive plan. But also you're going up against that Seattle crowd and the elements that are sure to be unfolding as they host the ride on the way here.
A lot of different ways that the NFC playoffs can shake out. For as much talk of that the AFC is wide open, I think that's true in terms of who makes it to the end. I'd still be a little surprised if it's not the Rams or Seahawks that win the NFC, but I do think on a matchup basis, it's pretty wide open. But there is one route, which wouldn't surprise me, where the Seahawks never play out of the NFC West, that the 49ers win this next weekend, and that it's the 49ers that come to Seattle for a rematch in 2 weeks, and then it's the Rams in the NFC Championship game. It could be like an all NFC West run. This has really been an epic division. Jackson Smith and Jigba wrapped up a historic season, I would say. Just absolutely ridiculous. And if you remember before the game, Diamador Lenore talked about how he wanted to match up one-on-one throughout the game. That didn't really happen, but a couple times it happens, and JSN got a touchdown about it and was asked about Lenore's comments.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely heard it. It's hard to respond back to all my fans. But I knew that we were going to see him today and take care of business.
It's the delivery, right? It's just amazing.
Just the very small smile before he decides, I'm just going to let it rip.
Different sides of the ball, different eras, different techniques.
Yes.
Does can't respond to all my fans get up to don't ever try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree?
Ooh.
I
think it was
in terms of this rivalry.
I mean,
it's not going to live on that much. I mean, it'll live on. We're going to make sure it lives on.
It has to.
That is maybe the most famous post-game interview of my lifetime, that Richard Sherman, but that is a great callback. By the way, Jackson Smith and Jigba finishes with 119 catches and 1,700 193 yards. Just an outrageous performance by him and a great job. Again, Mike Macdonald, he is my choice, partly because went for a 4th down early in this game. I think he knew what type of game it was. He trusted his defense. It didn't work one time near the goal line, and it worked a different time, whereas Kyle Shanahan was punting around midfield on 4th and 2. I don't think he trusted his offense, and who can blame him? So that was the Saturday night game, and that established, the NFC West championship and the 1 seed. Let's go to the NFC South championship, or was it to Tampa?
3 seconds left in the game. Bucs trying to keep our playoff and division title hopes alive. The snap, chest high, dropping Young, looking Young, over the middle. Young gets the catch made, the hook and lateral. They lateral the ball back to the left side, and a Tedderola McMillan throws. He throws it low, it's fumbled, it's loose. Bucs come up with it, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have come up with the ball on the final play of the game, the final play of regulation, and Tampa Bay will beat Carolina 16-14.
Final game-winning call there by Gene Deckerhoff. If you guys know who went to the playoffs at this point, if you're listening to this recap show. But at the time, we didn't know if Gene Deckerhoff, the great radio man, was going to get another chance. If nothing else, at least he's going out on a win. That was him on WFUS. Buccaneers survive 16-14. They stopped the slide. It was the result that I wanted, because I wanted the NFC South to come down to Falcons Saints on Sunday afternoon, and it did. And we're going to do that game next. But to set that up, the Buccaneers had to go and get a win, and for the first time in a long time, Baker ball was rolling, baby.
Maybe. Sort of, I guess. A little.
Kind of. I think so.
Yeah, he
first quarter.
He scrambled some too, and he picked up some key yards. Made a couple perimeter throws that were good, and I thought what he did a really nice job of early was taking what the defense was giving him. He wasn't trying to force the ball into bad spots. He wasn't making bad decisions with the football, because what Ejiro Evero's defense likes to do is it likes to fool you and dare you to throw the explosive play, where they actually do have 2 pretty good ball-hawking corners on the perimeter, and instead what it wants to do is make you bite away underneath their zone piece by piece. And Baker, I think, did a good job of that early on.
He averaged almost 10 yards per throw in this game. He's got the first quarter touchdown. In fact, since this is the last time we're going to hear from Gene.
This was a great throw.
Let's listen to Baker's touchdown to Cade Otton in a driving rainstorm.
Shotgun look, belt high snap. Mayfield throws a dart. Caught ball, touchdown Tampa Bay. Cade Otton. Boy, what a throw by Baker Mayfield. And the Bucs are on top 6-0.
It's a great throw.
Wasn't perfect, but they moved the ball. He gets 31 yards on the ground. They rush for 140. They hold the ball for 37 minutes. The conditions were nasty. At a certain point, I was like, can we just come back on Sunday and not let the conditions decide it? There was that interception.
In the second quarter, so Baker ball quit rolling pretty quickly.
Yeah, the conditions actually improved as the game went on. And in the second, third, and fourth quarter, Baker threw for 124 yards, had a pick, and a passer rating of 68.
Okay.
Where it seemed like, and again, I don't know if it's just in my head. I could be. I am no doctor. I'm not going to diagnose Baker Mayfield by video like weirdos do on Twitter, where no doctor's ever asking you for a video. So stop doing that. But Baker starts the game, looks good. He's pumped. He's lowering his shoulder, running over people, runs into Mike Jackson, has an argument with him. But what looked like the physical deterioration of Baker Mayfield happening in real time as the game went on, to the extent where Grizzard, the Bucs sideline, apparently was hiding Baker Mayfield, what felt like, for the rest of the game as the Panthers defense started to make
partly because he does dumb stuff like lowering his shoulder on a run like that when he's right next to the sideline, and you love the competitiveness, obviously.
I hated it.
Right.
You've been hurt all season.
Right. Like that he sometimes is his own worst enemy. They did just look like the better team, though. Like, in general, they are much more talented. The collapse of the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Bengals, and even in the NFC, you could look at the Lions. has sort of hidden the fact that the Bucs are one of the very most disappointing teams in the league. There's not a lot of excuses for why they've been this bad. Ultimately, they were punished, for it, even though they won this game. Like how they finished this season was kind of catastrophic.
They will show you why they finished the season this way.
Yes.
It might seem like it's unexplainable when you look at the names on this roster on both sides of the ball, when you look at the way that they started the season, and when you look at some of the ability and the potential that they have failed to live up to through the second half of the season, and it all boils down to these little microcosmic moments that happen from game to game. A couple weeks ago, it is multiple false starts in a row. This last game, it is Baker running into his own running back, Sean Tucker, knocking him down on the handoff, fumbling the exchange, killing the drive. It is Baker throwing just completely bad interception to Christian Roseboom, who's sitting in a cloudy zone that Giro Evero baits him into throwing by putting Christian Roseboom right where Baker needs to place the ball. And it's these types of things where they can't help themselves. They just can't win for losing. And it doesn't just happen over the course of a game in totality. It happens in these little moments. And ever since, they started on this skid, these little moments have compounded for them throughout the course of the game.
They were 6-2, and they finished 2-7 down the stretch, despite getting healthier down the stretch. So the Panthers will be able to talk about them in their matchup against the Rams on Westovis and leading into that game. This game was very concerning for them in general because I still just wonder what are they good at? Like, because they're not good at running the ball consistently. They're actually one of the very worst rushing teams in the NFL. They're bottom 3 in basically every stat since about week, I think, 10 or 12, something like that. Bryce has had moments. Teteroa McMillan, I think, made a good closing case with a big, long touchdown and another offensive a pass interference that was a very questionable call. That should have been a long call. That would have put him over 100 yards. He did go over 1,000 yards. Like, they have a couple things, but, like, I don't know what they're good at. To me, they're probably the 25th best team in the NFL or so, and they're making the playoffs. And the play calling with the flea flicker in the rain from the 20-yard line was special.
It was a part of the collective disaster where late in this game, I would have swore up and down that the Buccaneers were going to lose the game on the virtue of the Panthers having a successful offense that was just having things go wrong in the closing moments. So there's a solid young drive that starts with a touchback. They eventually get a Fitzgerald 54-yard field goal that he misses. The next drive, they have the big play to Teteroa McMillan, where it's 32 yards. If it's a 32-yard play that T-Mac drops, it's not against the rules to discuss. But because it's a penalty and the Panthers made bad plays, it's against the rules to have an extensive discussion about the impact the penalty would have because there's other things. There are other plays in the football game where the Panthers could have had success. That was a significant one.
Also, bad call.
They don't get points on that drive.
I think it was a bad call, but it also was a bad call that you understand when you watch the replay, like why seeing that live, that it just looked violent enough that it was made. And it's like mistakes happen.
Yes, mistakes do happen. They happen to the benefit of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game because the next drive after that, so that's a potential scoring drive, miss a field goal, potential scoring drive, penalty brings it back. Then the infamous flea flicker call in the red zone, which was catastrophic. And then the next drive after that, they do get a touchdown where we've seen this Panthers offense be able to execute. It was just in weird moments, weird things happen in a weird football game, in a weird division.
It drives me freaking nuts because they do things that make so much sense and they do them in sequence and then they get too cute and then everything just implodes. And that's what drives me nuts because they have this like cohesiveness. When it's clicking, it really clicks. This is them deciding that they're going to go under center, where Tampa Bay has really struggled against under center passing plays and under center runs and play action of late. So they're going under center, and that's great. And I'm thinking, wow, Dave Canales is keeping things simple right now. This is great. This is working. All of a sudden, they go into the pistol. The play fails. Do they go under center? No. They move Bryce back further, and he goes into the shotgun, and then he throws a pick. Jacob Parrish just jumped the route on Teteroa McMillan. Same thing. They convert their first third down in eons. And the next play after that is the flea flicker that was, I think, intended to go to the player leaking into the flat, but everyone stops because the first part of the play fails, and so nothing looks like it works.
You got to
Too cute.
take the conditions into account, and all of
Don't get cute in conditions.
All of that is true, and yet I got to keep going back to this running thing because I think it's important to think about intentions of how you want to build your team. The whole point of this team build was we're going to win in the trenches. We're going to pay a lot of money to guards. We're going to build around this offensive line. We're going to pay our backs. We're going to run the ball and support. Like, that is literally our philosophy, and they had 19 yards on 14 carries.
Oh.
And it's part of a pretty long trend. And so that really worries me about them. Let's end the Bucs talk positively because we don't know if Todd Bowles and Jason Light are safe. I have to assume Jason Light, who's done an incredible job as a GM in my mind, is safe. We don't know if Todd Bowles is safe. In the Bucs' history, the Glazers have often taken a really long time to make any sort of decisions, and the insiders seem to believe that Bowles is going to keep his job anyways. I don't think we'd find out for a little while. But I do think, based on the tone of the post-game speech from Levante David after the game, that there's a real chance it's the last time we see Levante David in a Bucs uniform. And so fitting, in what might have been his last game, he actually tied like the guy that you think about when you think of Levante David first, Derek Brooks, for the all-time lead in tackles. Let's listen to Levante David in the locker room.
I love y'all, man. I love y'all to death. This is how you build relationships. I have a relationship with each and every one of y'all in here, and that's what it's all about, man. I appreciate y'all, definitely. Tyler Shook. This is what it's all about, man. Family on 3. 1, 2, 3, family.
It was about a minute and a half long video, which if you're into those sort of things, I love these locker room things. I would recommend going to watch. But what really caught my attention at the very end of it was some random Buccaneer player just yelling out, "Tyler Shook!" like a cry of help and hope that Tyler Shook, the man that has saved this Saints season, would save the Bucs on Sunday afternoon and send them to the playoffs. Could he get it done in Atlanta? Let's go.
Torrey and Pettis go to the left side. Johnson and another receiver here to the near side. That's Austin. Estimates the back. Shuck's going to throw. Quick shot. Intercepted. It's D. Alford. D. Alford 40. Midfield. He's got Tyler Shook to beat down the far sideline out of bounds. He got edged down, and Atlanta gets the pick they need.
I feel bad for using that at the highlight. It was the biggest play in the game. It was Tyler Shook's biggest mistake in a big moment since he took over as a starting quarterback. Shook gets the ball back. They go right down the field, and he throws a miraculous touchdown ball to Ronnie Bell, and they make it close. They don't get the onside kick, and the Falcons win the game 19-17, sending the Panthers to the playoffs. But the reason I feel bad is that Tyler Shook heard that unnamed Bucs guy in the locker room. He played great today. I don't want him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year because I just don't think it's right for a guy who missed half the season to win Offensive Rookie of the Year unless you were like Dan Marino or just an insanely high level from a rookie quarterback. And Shook isn't that. But he was game, and they didn't have Chris Olave in this game. We know they've been missing their running backs. Kelvin Banks, their left tackle, left early in this game with an ankle injury. He's throwing to Ronnie Bell like Taysom Hill's lining up out wide. Kevin Austin Jr., Dante Pettis, and he's making some really impressive plays with his feet and his arm. So it's one I think you had to watch all the way through, and I did because I'm a sicko and I love the NFC South, and this was just a stupid game overall. I think he played his part, but ultimately the Falcons are just like a better football team overall by the end, and it wasn't about the quarterbacks.
Yeah, even the Staley Sans limits Bijan to 33 yards on 15 carries, where it's still the shell game with Kirk Cousins. But the Falcons able to facilitate that, on the virtue of this defense, being able to make plays. James Pierce Jr. was huge in this game. Both he and Jalen Walker having to contend with the athletic specimen that is Tyler Shough week after week. We see him, like, even on the pick where it would have been a pick six, a lot of times, like, Tyler Shough had the angle, and he could have turned around and tackled Alford facing him.
The Shough truck.
Who was it that Shough ran to the edge? And at that point, you were like, Shough has not been caught on one of these runs all season.
It was Jalen Walker.
That's right. It was like a top 10 pick athlete. And to
think, when he came out in the draft, all Gregg could think about was how old them legs and hips were.
Well, not only old, but
guilty. I'm guilty as well.
No, I am too. Like, obviously, he wasn't, I don't think, 100% healthy last year in general.
Clearly.
He was getting healthier. But also that maybe he protected himself with how he managed the pocket, because that's been a strength for him. There were parts of this game, he took a lot of sacks in this game, where it reminded me of some of his bad college tape, because, like, it was happening, and then he was just holding onto the ball forever and just kind of waiting until the sack arrived. And that did happen a little bit, but he went on to make so many plays that I think his development was one of the biggest stories in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
That I think the Saints found a franchise quarterback in the early second round, which almost never happens. Derek Carr was one. Andy Dalton was one. Colin Kaepernick was one. It just doesn't happen that often, and he solved a major problem for them. I think his floor is like a pretty solid starting quarterback. And because of his athletic ability, like, the ceiling is obviously much higher. In this game, though, like, we thought winning 4 straight to end the season would save Raheem Morris's job. Maybe Terry Fontenot goes. That's what the insiders were saying going into the day. They're like, oh, Morris looks like he's probably safe. They beat the Rams. That's a big deal. But after the game, early in the evening, it was reported Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot are both out. Tough break, I think, for Raheem Morris. They finish 8-9. They win 4 straight to end the season. They actually tie for the division lead. They were eliminated on December 7th.
So NFC South.
There's no chance. I mean, we'd have to get research. There's no chance that a team eliminated 4 weeks before the season was over has ever tied for the division lead, right? I mean, that's crazy. It's like, it's almost statistically impossible, but that is the NFC South. But unfortunately, it seems like Arthur Blank's mind was made up probably when they were 4-9, and nothing was going to move him off of it.
Yeah, and I think some of it's teams that are bad, that stay bad, that are set up to fail, whether you're the GM coming in with an overhang coach or you're the coach coming in with an overhang GM whose job security was not set in stone even before hiring the coach. They were incongruous in terms of their tenure there from the start, and you have to feel that the quarterback situation that they both made the decisions on, that they both pursued with Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins and that contract. You have to think about how that major decision or sequence of decisions ultimately set them up on this crash course, especially in light of the injuries. And it's tough. It's difficult because I know that Raheem Morris is really respected in that building, and certainly he won't lack a job. Terry Fontenot probably won't lack a job either. He's well respected across the league, but
if Patrick's hiring, he did have him in the top 10 GM list.
You couldn't leave one. You couldn't leave one and keep the other again. You just couldn't do it. And I think it is absurd to hire separate consulting firms the way that the Falcons are doing to make separately the decision on GM and head coach moving forward, or to find those candidates. I think that is absurd.
And Matt Ryan. Like, what is Matt Ryan doing?
But also just to start on even ground, like, you cannot have this incongruous situation over and over and over again.
I don't think as a matter of practice it's crazy to let a GM hire a second coach if the first one doesn't work out. The problem is for that second coach that, yes, he's not going to get to hire a third, and you're on a shorter leash. Mm-hmm. That's unfair to him, because Raheem Morris went 8-9 back-to-back years. It's not a great start, but the problem with their team build is he coaches a very specific defense.
Yeah.
And the defense made sense this year. They've always wanted to sack the quarterback. You know what they did today? They set the all-time franchise record for sacking the quarterback. I think Pierce's sack totals are a little misleading, but he's a promising player, and that pick that Terry Fontenot sent out the door that a lot of people made fun of him for, like, Pierce is like the next GM is now inheriting that. So it is how bad teams stay bad, especially the reports that Matt Ryan could be coming in with a front office type of role.
Quarterbacks always help their former front offices. It always works. Miami and John Elway.
Like, that's fine, but like, what is Rich McKay doing there? Maybe Rich McKay, who's been there forever, he's the team president now. He's more on the business side, but he goes back to the Vic days as like the GM. Maybe he's going to go too. We don't know. That would make more sense to me. But yeah, two different groups. What are they?
Well,
sports?
It's one group, Greg.
Two ZRG Partners is hiring, I think, the GM, and Sportsology is hiring the coach.
Well,
and they're proud enough about this that they put it in the statement. I'd be ashamed. It's like, we don't know what we're doing. That's what that says.
Well, no. Well, why would Terry Fontenot, anybody involved in the operation, evaluate the operation when Sportsology, who specializes in maximizing growth of elite sporting organizations, a leading provider of premium knowledge, Greg, not just regular knowledge. Premium knowledge, strategic advisory, and operational support in the sports industry, focused on global leagues and federations and institutional investors.
You know what it sounds like to me?
What's that?
A grift.
Yes.
Like a way to extract money when you really aren't accomplishing anything. Because if you don't know how to hire your own head coach and GM, like that's a problem, that you don't have someone in the building, and then you are paying a lot of people in the building a lot. It just it's a bad start to the offseason, I think, for the Falcons.
The best decision you can make in this position, if you're McKay, if you're anybody in a position of leadership, is to hire the search firm. Because if you are the one that hires the search firm is never going to say that you're the problem. And their values are curiosity, empathy, and challenge as well, Greg.
It's really, you think it's two search firms, but it's really possibly just Rich McKay in a giant trench coat.
Okay. By the way, I was wrong. It's ZRG Partners. Got to correct this. That's doing the head coach search.
It's very important to clarify which search firm is doing nothing.
Doing the GM search. And you checked out, I believe it was the site of Sportsology.
I'm on it right now.
And they only had one quote. What do they call it? A testimonial.
Yeah, you go to the testimonial section of the Sportsology page because you think you're going to, they specialize in leading knowledge.
Premier.
It's Tom Penn, president of the Los Angeles Football Club, is the only testimonial.
If you're going to have a testimonial page, you need more than one. That's a bad sign.
No, yeah, it's not a testimonials page. It's a testimonial page. A shout-out to LAFC.
It's a bad sign. You know what's crazy is Fontenot, had a good draft. Like, Xavier Watts was awesome in this game. Again, one of the biggest reasons why they won this game. And the pass rushers are going to be good. And, yes, like I said, with
acquiring talent, not important in terms of evaluating.
You know who else had a good
Premier
draft?
knowledge.
It's why you always got to just try to survive one more year because you don't know what's going to happen that year. You know who had a good draft last year? Mickey Loomis.
Hey, I think,
maybe Terry
Tyler Shook is.
I think I can hear his response to you, Greg. He says, it's really hard to respond to all my fans.
Yes, exactly. Like Drake May was all that matters for the 2024 and 2025 Patriots. Tyler Shook is all that matters with the Saints, and it's looking good. Let's go through the rest of these games a little quicker because those were the big playoff implication type of games. But we still have to figure out some seeding in the rest of the NFC. Let's go to Chicago, where the Lions and Bears were playing. And don't tell Dan Campbell a game is meaningless because he'll go win it.
There it is. Jack Fox the spot. Bates with the kick. It is up and it is good. Yes. The Lions win it on the final play of the game. The Lions come into Chicago on week 18 and complete a season sweep of the Chicago Bears and put up their 9th victory of the season.
Awesome win. Awesome call by Dan Miller. Gonna miss having the Lions potentially in the playoffs. WXYT. We should have seen this coming. It's just very Lionsy to have like a proud way to go out on the season. Big day for Jared Goff. Big day for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think we know who the Lions are. I want to ask you about the Bears and just if there was anything from this game that concerned you going into the playoffs for them.
Yeah, it was them seeming to forget themselves a little bit, forgetting how settled they'd been in these close games, forgetting how they've won these late games and in some cases come from behind games, in some cases clearing a tie. This Bears team sort of like frazzled out near the end, because the Bears entered the fourth quarter down 16-0. They had just 139 total yards to that point.
Wow.
And they put together 2 scoring drives with 2 successful 2-point conversions to tie the game with 5.5 minutes left. So then you're thinking, okay, these are the Bears that I've seen all season to this point. These are the Bears that have gotten so good at especially winning in the late parts of these games, in these comebacks, but they blew it. And that's the old Bears, because Detroit quarterback Jared Goff, who played great most of the game but did try to force a ball to double coverage up the middle to Amon-Ra St. Brown on a 3rd and 20. It was picked by Kevin Byard, and Chicago had an opportunity to close the game, and in the subsequent 2 minutes and 11 seconds, and they wasted 2 downs ahead of the 2-minute warning, and then they had to give back the ball via punt with 1:55 left. The Lions get the ball back, and of course it's Jared Goff on a short crosser yak play to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it sets up that field goal. So the Lions did the thing that the Lions always have been able to do in this era, and the Bears forgot themselves, and they were, for a moment, the old Bears.
It's 2 straight games where you're just reminded of how the Bears have won this season, and it kind of reminds me how the Bucs won in the first half of the season. The Bucs, by the way, played more games, 5 points or under, than any team in the history of the NFL this year, like more close games. Wow. The Bears have been in a lot of close games this year, too, and they've won almost all of them. The last 2 weeks, they've had the ball with the chance to win the game, and if that keeps happening over and over and over and over, like, it's hard to do every single week, and they didn't get it done. Dan Campbell, he was more disappointed after winning this game than I expected. I thought it was kind of going to be a celebration of like the
You were so excited.
Yeah, the culture that they've brought, that, you know, he beats Ben Johnson. For all the Ben Johnson talk, well, they beat the Lions twice. I mean, they beat the Bears twice. If nothing else, they swept the Bears this year. This is him after the game.
Let's call it what it is. Pretty pissed all week, you know, and it's a bad feeling. And now we're going into the playoffs, and you get to watch everybody else go while you're sitting at home, and it's frustrating. So that's what fuels you. We don't want to be doing that again next year. That's not where we want to be. You got to get in.
Resolved, resilient, not celebrating. I guess a game that to them probably was a little more meaningless than that Week 18 win, which I think set off this mini era in Detroit over Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, knocking them out of the playoffs in Week 18 4 years ago. So they ran the ball really well today on the Bears, and the Bears could not run the ball against them. So that's something to watch next week. With the Bears' loss, and it was close the whole game, both the Bears and the Eagles were going for the 2 seed. And the Eagles weren't really going for the 2 seed because they weren't playing a lot of their starters, but they thought maybe Tanner McKee and the backups could win that game against Washington, and there was a moment in this game that it looked like they could. We're going to go to Philadelphia, and when we come back from this highlight here, we're going to have the man, Nick Shook, finally join the show. Everyone's in the YouTube comments right now. Where is Shook? He's right here.
He's been with us the whole time.
He's in Philadelphia.
3rd and goal of the 2 in a tie game. Johnson under center. Rodriguez the back. Burks comes in motion closer to the line. Play action. This time he's rolling left. Looking back. Now puts his head in. He'll walk into the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown Washington! Josh Johnson. Masterclass score.
Love that. Bram Weinstein had a masterclass all last season, calling big-time moments. This wasn't the final big-time moment that he wanted, but Josh Johnson running for a touchdown in like a 2-score comeback in the 4th quarter against the Eagles, it's kind of a fun way to end the season. Nick, you watched this game closely. The Eagles had the lead with Tanner McKee. They were closing in on what in the end would have been the 2 seed, but at the end, Josh Johnson, the wily 17-year vet, was too much. What were your big takeaways here?
Yeah, in a fun way. Talk about an electric way for the Washington Commanders, a team that had really no reason to continue playing for the rest of the season. They're down to Josh Johnson. He's 39 years old. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass since 2021. He puts him on the board with a dime to Jake Bates in the back of the end zone. Excuse me, that was different Bates, Brendan Bates. And suddenly, before you know it, actually, John Bates, now I got it right, 3rd time around. Before you know it, the Commanders are involved. They're in this game, but they still have work to do. And that is where Josh Johnson channels the many years he spent in the NFL, 10 in fact. He's also been in other leagues with teams with names you can't remember. None of that mattered today because he led a drive that was aided by penalties, committed by the Eagles' backups, Keely Ringo being a repeat offender on that one. But when the game came down to the goal line situation and it's 3rd and 1 and it seems like the Commanders have been on the doorstep forever, the play action bootleg that we just played there, Josh Johnson rolling to his left, faking a pump just enough to get Ringo to retreat in coverage, and then he gets to stroll into the end zone. This is, I wouldn't call it redemption. It's not Geno Smith. I didn't write back in Seattle.
Okay.
But it's glorious for Josh Johnson. And on the Eagles side, it's, oh no, we played our backups and we lost the opportunity to claim a higher seed. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. That's basically it for the Eagles.
Okay, let's actually listen to Nick Sirianni address that point after the game, asked if there was any regrets about resting his starters.
I knew this was an outcome that these things could happen. Like I said to you guys, one thing I could guarantee was giving them rest. I couldn't guarantee anything else. And us being healthy and going into the playoffs healthy is a big deal for us. And, that's served us well in the past. And so, again, I know there'll be debate on that, but again, I have to do what I think is best for the football team moving forward, and that's what I did.
I agree with Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, he's right.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just bad circumstance. I think they'll be more annoyed that they had a 17-10 lead going into the fourth quarter and that they give up 2 touchdowns then, because the backups were obviously playing pretty well. Shook, Jalix Hunt had an interception in this game.
Mm-hmm.
He now has 3 of the Eagles players that matter, including Devontae Smith and Jalix Hunt that played in this game. Anything stand out to you that you kind of roll forward into next week that you found meaningful? Because as much as I'm happy that the Commanders season is over, I feel like I'm ready to stop talking about the 2025 Commanders. I'm sorry.
Oh, same. You and me both. This is a disappointing team that we need to leave in the rear view. Who I don't want to leave in the rear view is Tank Bigsby, who got the lion's share of the carries today because obviously Saquon wasn't playing. He ran hard. He was running guys over. He was embodying his name of Tank today. And I think he's been a favorite of this show for a while. When the Eagles acquired him, we were like, oh, that's a great move for depth. Could he play a key role for them? I don't know. They can't run the ball very well in most weeks. We've seen that with Saquon's numbers, but he had a nice day. Like you said, Jalix Hunt did. Well, it was mentioned on the broadcast, 3rd interception this year, and I was like, he has 3 interceptions? I looked back. That's true. 3rd interception of the year, as crazy as that sounds for a guy who plays the position he plays. And Jeremiah Trotter Jr. also really played a nice game, but you don't see him on the field that much. I think that there were some mistakes made within Vic Fangio's system that they're going to want to clean up, but it's more of a systemic issue for them where it's just it's not something that you see week to week, but it's just how are you fitting into the scheme and are you executing? I think you see that from backups who are getting larger shares of time on the field than they usually do. But other than that, I can't really roll that much forward other than I loved watching Jahan Dotson run routes today. It felt like an exhibition of how good of a route runner Jahan Dotson is. That's about it.
He feels underused. Like when he had all those moments in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship, I was like, oh, it's going to be more of a Jahan Dotson year in 2025, and it really wasn't. Jalix Hunt, by the way, 24 quarterback hits, 6.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, 3 more than a team that we're going to talk about a little later. I found it interesting. There were some insidery reports questioning whether Cliff Kingsbury would be back with the Commanders. Was surprised to hear that. So more in this space in the coming days. But it sounds like they might be considering a change at offensive coordinator. And Josh Johnson will be turning 40 years old next year. He absolutely earned another year in the NFL. He looked pretty good the last couple of weeks. So the Eagles lose. Bears get the 2 seed. They play the Packers. Eagles get the 3 seed. They play the 49ers. Look, if those 2 teams play in the division round, that's a big if, and the Eagles are on the road, that is a disadvantage that they, I guess earned by losing this game. But that's a lot of ifs, and I don't think that the 49ers are necessarily a tougher matchup than the Packers anyways, so it's fine. Get healthy. Let's go to another team that's near and dear to your heart, Jourdan, and my daughter's heart and my wife's heart, and maybe Nick Shook's heart because he likes Matthew Stafford. Let's go to the Rams, trying to get the 5 seed against the Cardinals.
Matthew Stafford under center. Blake Corum the single back. Puka in motion. Here it comes. And goal. Play fake. Stand up to throw. Shoot it right side. Touchdown L.A. Colby Parkinson calls game. Give Matthew his MVP. A 4-touchdown closing statement for the 37-year-old in his 17th season. The Rams are in the clear. They'll be the 5 seed going to Carolina next week.
2 objectives, I think, for the Rams. Get back on the winning, track. just feel better about your team, and then get Matthew Stafford some stats in that MVP conversation. It sounds like they accomplished the Stafford part. What do you think about how this game played out and how they should be feeling the direction of the rest of the team?
It's funny because I think it was a great example of how football can be a tale of two different halves. And for the first half, I was concerned about the Rams. Not necessarily because I didn't think they had the capability, but they just seemed like they were kind of sleepwalking. It seemed like they were almost hungover from that loss to the Falcons a week earlier, which didn't make as much sense because their offensive line was at a better standing of strength than it was the week prior. Matthew Stafford had time to throw. They scored a touchdown just before halftime, but until that moment, I was worried that, oh God, have the Rams peaked too soon? Are they already on the downturn going into the playoffs? And then the second half arrived. And the second half presented the Rams with a little bit of a wake-up call, which is, hey, I know the Cardinals have 3 wins this year, but you still got to play football. It's still the NFL, because the Cardinals jumped all over them. They threw a fake punt pass for a 28-yard gain. The very next play, Jacoby Brissett hits Michael Wilson with a deep shot. They score a touchdown. They score another touchdown. Josiah DeGuara, another guy who hasn't scored since 2021, he's in the end zone, and the Rams are trailing. And at that point, Sean McVay's team woke up, remembered who they were, and played excellent football from there on out. Matthew Stafford leading the way with his arm. We played the last touchdown pass that he threw, but it was the one right before that to Tyler Higbee that reminded me of what this offense can be when it's near full strength, because they still don't have Devontae Adams. And I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll be just fine, and they just need a little kick in the hind parts to remember who they are and the fact that they're going to the playoffs.
I always say that you can tell exactly who Sean McVay is mad at by the roster decisions that he makes going into game to game. And in this case, leaving his secondary in for most of the game, his starting secondary that entered the game in through most of the game, and Jacoby Brissett at times really exploited them, especially with some of those perimeter throws. Michael Wilson had a great game. This has, of the last few weeks, it has been a very pointed and specific effort to light a fire under a team that knows how good it is and needs to remember it. And I think that's part of playing them today. We could tell it was Sean McVay saying, I'm mad at this team right now, without actually saying it, being professional about it, but basically reminding them, if you play like this, like they did last week, if you play like this, like they opened the half this week, they're not going very far.
And it took a while, but he got there. And he sounded pretty fired up in the post-game press conference of just like, that was it. That was why we wanted to play this week, essentially, was to have a half like that where we explode. And I think that's good to have. You're a coach, you got to have a feel of their team. They've sat starters before. I do think the 5 seed turned out to be a big advantage, too. You get the Panthers, who I think are the weakest team in the entire playoff field. I know the Panthers beat them previously, but that's an advantage. And you never know. What if it's Rams, 49ers, NFC Championship again? Then the Rams get a home game because they won this game. Or Rams, Packers. I guess there's not that many scenarios as the 5 seed, whether you can host. So big win. And it seemed like the defense was, in the second half at least, getting after it. Let's talk about a more important defensive player that was getting after it on Sunday. This whole show has been preamble to Myles Garrett's moment. Nay, Andrew Siciliano's moment. That's who's the real star here. Let's go to Cleveland.
5:20 remaining in this game. Browns up 5. Bengals have it first out of the Browns 45-yard line. Burrow shotgun. Burrow to throw. Here comes Myles. He got him! He got him! There it is! Myles Garrett, sack number 23, the new single-season sack king, and the Browns defense mobs their man at the Cincinnati 45-yard line.
Browns go on to get the win, and we will hear the game-winning field goal call. But I thought it was really cool, Nick, that he got it on such a classic Garrett sack, which defied all, how does a man move that fast, that big, in that bend? NGS had him as a .17 get-off, which I thought was maybe like a mistake with the chip. But you can kind of see it, that he essentially timed the snap perfectly and has a speed and a body control and just athleticism that maybe no one else has ever had off the edge position. A very cool moment for your Browns, and they capped it off with a win.
Yeah, and I'm not going to deep dive on this tape here, on this play specifically, because it was a great moment in football history, but folks are going to complain that, Burrow took a dive like Brett Favre with Strahan, and I pushed back against that because of what you just said. The get-off time was absurd. It was also one of the few times that Myles Garrett wasn't facing some sort of chip or double team. He got a one-on-one against Orlando Brown and just simply beat him off the snap. In fact, I think Brown false started on that play and it didn't even matter. And Burrow knew he was doomed. So congrats to Myles Garrett for getting it done. Also, if you look at the clock at that point, there's 5 minutes and 4 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Not only were the Browns in a rock fight with the Bengals and trying to win a game, but they were also getting really anxious that Myles Garrett might not do it and he might finish at 22 sacks. So it was great to see him get the job done. They paused the game. They kind of honored him on the sideline. They lifted him up on somebody's shoulders like he was John Madden who just won a Super Bowl. For a team that only won 5 games, one of those wins coming today, it was a nice moment for them in a historic season for Myles Garrett.
It's kind of a classic, what is happening type of moment. Zach Taylor, after the game, was not pleased with how they stopped the game. And I got the sense, listening afterwards and watching it back, that I'm not sure the officials really were sure if the game was going to stop. And I think, in my mind, the Browns just kind of stopped the game themselves, and everyone had to just go along with it. And Zach Taylor was not pleased about that after the game.
There's 5 minutes left in our season. We're playing for our lives here. And I was never told that we're going to stop the game. And in a critical moment like that, and the refs just said that they made a decision that they were going to stop the game. And they said they tried to do it as quickly as possible. I didn't feel that. We didn't sub. We're trying to be on the ball and go and play with tempo. And the umpire just held the ball.
The sound you're hearing is the world's tiniest violin.
Well said.
Just don't. I mean, come on.
It is an unprecedented situation. It was funny of when it happened in the game. It was like under 5 minutes to go, and they're driving for a touchdown. And I get what he means. He's like, we're going to try to do it as quickly as possible, and they're literally carrying him on their shoulders. But Zach Taylor has to realize that sound clip is going to be remembered as like loser behavior. And you just lost to the Browns, and you just went 6-11 on a season where Joe Burrow played a lot of games, bro. So just be quiet about it.
If he'd cut it off after they didn't let me know that they were going to stop the game, that's
then
fair.
Fine.
It would have been great to, in the administration of the football game, tell the coach, hey, at this career NFL record that hasn't been broken for a long time, we've had it tied. Myles could get it today. We're going to stop the game. That's fine. I don't know what schematic advantage you get after Joe Burrow got sacked to get back on the ball with the same personnel that just had Joe Burrow get sacked. I don't really know, but
I guess you're trying to run as many plays as possible because you're trailing at that point. But usually
the clock stops. That's the whole point.
No, it's survival. It's survival. They're playing for their lives, man. Like you said, it's
It is
survival.
life and death. Oh my God!
Exactly. It was one of those moments that like everybody didn't know what to do. Shelby Harris high-fived the nearby official. Like nobody knew what to do in that moment.
That's amazing.
Here's the thing. I'm just gonna need some more intestinal fortitude.
Ooh,
I'm just gonna need more.
The fortitude was by the Browns and by Larry Garrett. Lawrence Garrett up there violating the Paycor Stadium policy on camera lenses over 6 inches because he's up there with the telephoto in the stands to take a picture of his baby boy breaking the record. Great moment for the Browns.
And you got to give, in terms of intestinal fortitude, how about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase on an ensuing drive that only started with like a couple minutes left to go? They actually go down, take the lead with a touchdown. It looked like it was almost going to be perfect if you're a certain sort of Browns fan. You keep the draft pick, but you get the moment and you move on. But no, they get a field goal to finish the game. Hell, we're not going to hear Andrew again this year. Let's just listen to his game-winning field goal call.
Yay.
A 49-yard try with 3 seconds on the clock. Sunahara, Bojorquez, Andre Schmidt. The snap, the hold, the kick to the uprights, and Andre Schmidt hits the kick. There's a flag.
I think it's going to be leverage on the Bengals.
Alex Kemp, who won the game? Tell me, please.
The Cleveland Browns have won this football game.
The Browns are celebrating. Andre Schmidt, 49-yard game-winning field goal.
Field goal's good. Game over.
So the Browns.
Thanks for the help on the call, Stripes.
Yeah, they win a couple games late, which knocks them from the top 2 or 3 of the draft down to number 6. We'll hit that in a second, and they win a game with only 200 yards of offense. What a performance in tough circumstances.
Let's get some shout-outs here, Greg. Let's give some quick shout-outs here. Andre Schmidt starts the season by missing a couple of key kicks, and the Browns open with a loss to the Bengals in a game they could have won. Their defense played well. Bookends this season by beating the Bengals with a game-winning field goal. So congratulations. Redemption arc complete for you, Andre Schmidt. And also, we just got to look back at Devin Bush's breakout season. Yes, it came late in his career, but he had the second pick six of the season, and it went 97 yards. So eat your heart out, James Harrison. It wasn't the Super Bowl. It's January. I'm giving honors to people that won't matter next week. What a play by Devin Bush.
Speaking of which, I was surprised. I questioned our friend Ollie Connolly putting Devin Bush as his second-team All-Pro linebacker
never question
last
Ollie,
week.
rule number one.
And then immediately after, he makes the big play here. So what a season for Devin Bush. What a season for Shook. I would have an emotional goodbye. It's our last, big full-scale recap. But you're literally on the show in about 12 hours. So get some sleep, and we'll talk on
We love you, Nick.
what the artist formerly known as Black Monday, and talk a little Coaches on Monday. Thanks, Shook.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right.
Did you just say we're going to talk a little Coaches?
Coaches.
Talk a little Coaches.
We've been on for a while. Let's go to Minnesota and finish out the last few games here, which did not have playoff ramifications. Then we'll set up the draft order, and we'll send you on your Sunday night. Appreciate everyone, by the way, who's sticking with us live in the chat on YouTube.
You got to hear Greg say Coaches.
Of course, if you're listening to this, you can
moment there.
see all of our awkward interactions on YouTube later if you like to do both. Let's go to Minnesota.
Naylor in motion. Halos behind Brosmer.
Here we go.
Back to
Come on,
pass,
baby.
looking right. Now he gets claustrophobic and he trips over Justin School. Then he tried to get up and he dropped the ball, and it was picked up by Baron Sorrell. No! All right, brother. Good seeing you, my man.
Thanks for having me.
God bless you, brother.
God bless you. Happy New
Hey,
Year.
hold on. Hey! Josh Duhamel left the lead. Say goodbye.
Hey, Vikings fans, there's always next year. There's always next year.
The final 11.5 minutes
we are going to win a Super Bowl. It may not be this year, but it is going to be very soon. I promise you that.
Love you, brother. Have a good day.
That was Paul Allen and Josh Duhamel.
The Josh Duhamel.
Famous-ish actor.
Oh, wow.
No, very famous. On
Has
KFAN.
aged very well, might I say.
That call almost didn't make it into the show. It is now the call of the year. I think that won. I mean, there's
incredible.
I don't know if anything can possibly top that. The crazy thing is the Vikings won this game 16-3. So that was a tough moment there for our guy, Max Brosmer.
Josh Duhamel left the lead. Say goodbye.
I love
Not even top 5 angry Paul Allen calls.
I don't know. That's up there.
No.
That was more bemused, sarcastic, laughing at the absurdity of life.
Say
calls.
goodbye.
And yet this game was never even competitive. Poor Brosmer has been in a couple of the lowlights of the season, which I feel bad about. He had the somersault fumble. I mean,
let's give it back. Lynn, let's
yeah.
let's even it out. Let's give one right back to the Green Bay Packers because this came in a nutshell. At one point near the end of the first half, running back Emmanuel Wilson lost 19 yards on a tackle for loss on a carry. Not an inspiring day for the Clayton Tune-led Green Bay Packers Week 18 offense. Per ESPN research brought to us by Kevin Seifert, that was the biggest loss by an NFL running back on a rushing play since 2007. To make things even, let's go ahead and hear that one too.
I don't believe we have that sound, but you can watch it on YouTube.
Oh yeah, you can see the play right here.
And he goes back. It's happened. This is a type of play that happens in youth football a lot. Like if you watch high school football, that's happening more than once in every 6 years. Or whatever.
Listen, we're just trying to be fair. Just trying to be fair. This was a game that happened in Week 18, and now it's over.
This was the most game that happened in Week 18, and now that it's over game, because the Packers had 56 yards on a truly garbage time drive at the end that they kicked a field goal at the buzzer in this game. Were you guys aware of that? To get some points. If it wasn't for those 56 yards, they were held to, let's do the math, I believe about like 66 yards before that, 65 yards in the entire game before that. That's outrageous.
That is the saddest field goal of the season in terms of the total game operation. Just a rough one for two very good play callers. I feel bad for the coaches.
Well,
both of them.
I mean, look, Kevin O'Connell's moving the ball. It's Pat LaFleur and Clayton Tune that had 12 yards, I think, at halftime.
The artist formerly known as Matt LaFleur. Pat LaFleur, who has to call a Clayton Tune.
Well, that's his alter ego,
offense.
much like Nine, who made an appearance in this game when the referee was trying to hold him back after a taunting penalty.
Oh, my gosh.
Hilarity ensued.
I will say, we talked about this with the Bills. Their Week 18, it's ripe for games like this, but also stuff like what happened in the Bills game where you get some really sweet moments, sometimes bittersweet send-offs. Harrison Smith, the safety, just a legend for that franchise. The send-off for him was really, really nice. Kevin O'Connell called timeout so that they could give him a proper send-off. You can watch it on YouTube right now. He had sort of a Gatorade bottle shower. His family is in a suite, classy touch by the Vikings. Really totally heartwarming, head pats from all of his teammates and hugs, and they really took their time sending off somebody who is so beloved and respected by this franchise, and the crowd gave him a well-deserved standing ovation. This is most likely, if not definitely, his final season in the NFL.
Yeah, a lot of big decisions for a lot of these players. Taylor Decker, going back to the Lions game, had a very emotional, telling press conference where he talked about everything he had to go through to try to play this year. And so a lot of these players have been fighting through injuries and guys who've just been in the league a long time, like Harrison Smith, making big decisions. We'll see if Brian Flores will be back for the Minnesota Vikings. He's a coaching free agent, so that's intriguing. This defense finished the season just on total fire. And I think the one real football point to take from this, nothing from the Packers side really, but from the Vikings side, that J.J. McCarthy didn't survive the game again. You know, he got hurt, and so that's 5 different games, I think, that he left during the game with an injury this season. And the positive play that he had when he did play later in the season, I think got undercut by him getting hurt a couple more times down the stretch. So something I think to keep in mind.
Yeah, and this game he started well. He was 5 for 5. That's his longest streak of consecutive completions in his very short career so far. But then only went on to complete 4 of 11 passes. Some of them were so off target, and then he re-hurt the same hand he had previously injured.
So the Vikings end up at 9-8. I think it was Luke Braun on Blue Sky who wrote this. I couldn't believe that this was true. That if the Vikings had beaten the Bears in November, I think the last time they played, and you don't change any other result, the Vikings are the NFC North champions.
Wow.
Now, obviously, everything would be different. The world would be different because of that.
The world would be different.
You know, I'm just saying motivations would be different. The Packers would have played. Like, who knows what would have happened. Everything would be – you can't exactly do that. But that's how close, in a way, that they were. They did get to 9 wins. They did get a winning record. They got over their over-under win total by winning 5 straight. It's kind of crazy how good this defense was, especially down the stretch. All right, let's go.
Josh Duhamel left the lead. Say goodbye.
We really should have ended the show with that because I'm sorry, Jackson Dart and the Giants, you can't really top it.
3rd and 16, pressure. Dart gets it away to Bellinger. He cuts inside to the 20. Bellinger to the 15, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown Giants on a 3rd and 16. Dart kept it alive. Bellinger made himself available. And the Giants with an improbable 3rd down conversion score.
People ask me all the time, why do you do every game? Some of the games don't matter. You know, they all matter to us. And no one asked me that. That's just a thing that people say when they say something that they want to say. Usually the people don't ask them. You know what I mean? On Twitter, it's like a lot of people were asking where my link is to my article. Here it is.
Or more people should be talking about how NFL Daily covers every single game.
We just do it because every game, there's only 272 of these, right? And Bob Papa and Carl Banks got to call a Giants win. The Giants did the thing that the Giants do, which is win late season games to ruin their draft stock. And I know you think that's unfair and it doesn't matter. Well, they could have had Drake May, Patrick, if they hadn't done it a couple of years ago.
But, Greg, they have Jackson Dart. So the problem is ultimately solved, and great call by Bob and Carl there, but they called it an improbable play. But it was the most likely outcome against the 2025 Dallas Cowboys defense, where Jackson Dart looks great. He throws a backhand pass on 3rd and super long to Daniel Bellinger, and he houses it from 29 yards out because that's the type of play we expected from the Eberflus defense as the season's gone on. And, the overall dark concern is he going to look good? Is he going to take care of himself? He still put his body in harm's way several times in this game, had a couple of designed runs, a couple of scrambles as well. But I think the evaluation is Jackson Dart's pretty good, and they feel good about it going into 26.
So one of my issues with the Tyler Shuck Rookie of the Year thing is that if you're just looking at the numbers, like Jackson Dart's numbers are better, and he played a lot. Like Jackson Dart's weirdly, because of the concussion story, I don't think he's underrated in terms of how he played this year, but like he had a very promising season. I think it closed pretty well too. He runs for 32 yards, but the last few weeks he's just been steady. He gets Gunnar Olszewski over 100 yards in this game. Afterwards, we heard from the Cowboys a report that it could take up to 2 weeks before they decide on their defensive coordinator for next year, which is interesting. Matt Eberflus is expected to lose his job, but the Cowboys usually take their time. But yeah, Dak Prescott played the first half of this game. I don't think they were winning at halftime anyways. And then they brought in Joe Milton, and they didn't really go all out to try to win this game, and so they finished with 7 wins on the season. And yeah, the Giants are 4-2 in weeks 17 and 18 over the last 3 years. And if you just start their record in week 17, week 18, 3 years ago, they're 4-28 otherwise. So it's not ideal.
The newsroom was quiet for a stretch, and I was not watching this game.
Nobody
And all of a sudden
Patrick
I just hear Patrick from behind his cubicle, "We got Joe Milton." And that told me everything I needed to know about how this game was going.
Joe Milton is playing in week 18 to help decide a top 5 pick where it's going to be, is now an annual tradition. He knocked the Patriots down a couple spots. They ended up with Will Campbell. The Giants get knocked down a couple spots. They're at the number 5 spot now. And that's about all we need to say on this game. Let's wrap up with the Raiders and the Chiefs. Pete Carroll, before the game, was widely reported to be on the way out. Not a surprise, but all the insiders finally went in on that it was going to be Pete Carroll's last game as a head coach of the Raiders. Certainly he knew that going into the game, which made this ending all the more satisfying to me.
It'll be from 60. For the win. Cole puts it down. The kick is on its way. And he throws it. Carlson. Good from 60. And with 8 seconds to go, the Raiders have a lead and a chance to end the season on a high.
Life is short. If you have the chance to scream at the top of your lungs like Jason Horowitz and Kirk Morrison did for a 14-12 Raiders victory over the Chiefs in Week 18, you should scream. Like, you don't know what's promised tomorrow. Kyle Shanahan said it. We may not be here for the wild card round. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the world's going crazy. Raiders win, and I got to say, I kind of live for Aiden O'Connell throwing it to Tyler Lockett to set up a game-winning field goal for Daniel Carlson in what could be Pete Carroll's last game. Like, that to me
a sentence.
Is actually great Week 18
What a sentence.
theater.
Greg, who are the quarterbacks in this game? I know you have a list of them.
That was going to
somewhere.
be the only notes I wrote for this game. Chris Oladokun.
Yeah.
He started the game. He was benched for Shane Buechele, right?
Yep.
On the other side, Kenny Pickett, who took some
Yes, he can.
some tough hits, but he was benched for performance reasons for Aiden O'Connell, who, if I'm going to make like the lamest take ever, like should have been playing this whole time. He's obviously better at NFL football than Kenny Pickett.
Fiery Week 18 late podcast takes from Gregg Rosenthal.
I mean, I got to say,
machine.
Aiden
Gregg
O'Connell, I guess he was
Rosenthal.
hurt. That was right. He was hurt for most of the season and recently got healthy. But Aiden O'Connell is probably better than 2025 Geno Smith, I hate to admit.
That's what Aiden O'Connell does, is win late season games against the Kansas City Chiefs. This time he threw for more yards, actually, in limited opportunity than the last time he beat the Chiefs late in the season.
The only bummer was they showed Travis Kelce after Carlson made the kick. And
That was the only bummer about this game? The only one.
of that final result, yes. I mean, of that final kick, which was pretty joyous. Think about those Raiders fans. Those are the most expensive seats in the league to watch this Raiders team this year. They deserve it. They deserve a little fun. So does Pete Carroll. What a career
They're
he has
watching
had.
their team make history. They're selecting first overall in this year's draft.
That made it even more guilt-free because the Giants lost in the early window, which clinched the one pick for the Raiders, so they could win without even any mixed emotions. And I think it's cool. Carroll is an all-timer.
Mm-hmm.
I love me some Pete Carroll, and this season was a total disaster. But to just win on a win, I bet it meant a lot to him, don't you think, Patrick? So if it means a lot to him, it means something.
Yeah, he was out there. He wasn't out there to have a bad season like this, that devolved into hilarity. But good for Pete, good for the Raiders, good for the fans, as you pointed out. They've been through a lot. That place was rocking when that kick
It really was, and the Kelsey looked pretty emotional, like a guy who it might be his last game. I think he just had one catch for under 10 yards in this game, and it's a tough way to go out. I think he wanted that final just good moment after what obviously has been a really tough season for the Chiefs.
And Pete said, "I've been here longer. I call dibs on going out with a good moment."
Fair.
Yeah.
The Chiefs will pick in the top 10. The Raiders are number 1. The official draft order, if you're curious, the Jets did finish at number 2, so they got some help today. And the Cardinals, number 3, moved up a few spots during this 9-game losing streak to end the season. The Titans are next. Then the Giants, who moved the most down in the last couple of weeks, are to number 5. Browns and Commanders round out the top 7. That's it. We did it. Week 18.
I can't believe
live on
we did
YouTube.
it.
We did it live.
We did it live.
We did it. We had coaches. We had lots of fun. And, yes, we had the call of the year. Should we hear Paul Allen one more time? Now let's get out of here. We'll be back. We appreciate everyone checking us out live. We'll be going live on Saturday night in the playoffs, but we also have shows all week long, including a big coaching roundup on Monday with Nick Shook. You can check us out then. For Patrick Claybon, Jourdan Rodrigue, and Nick Shook, it was a treat.